Nomadland is directed by Chloe Zhao and is a book-to-screen adaptation written by Jessica Reuters and stars Frances McDormand, David Strathairn, just to name a few. And it follows the life of Fern, played by Frances McDormand, who decides to become a nomad, a drifter pretty much, after the death of her husband and the collapse of her hometown. Now, I went into this movie blind. I had no idea what it was about, other than I knew the director, Chloe Zhao, was going to be directing Eternals for Marvel, coming up in a couple of months now, I think. And that's all I knew about the movie. I went into this movie cold. This movie is not for everybody. It is definitely a slow burn, and it is very long. It's 2 hours long. Not to say that there was scenes that didn't drag out or not. Everything that is in here feels intentional. And is a very sad, almost depressing side of what happens to the life of a person after they've lost everything. It's very sad. It really captures the feeling of loneliness that a person goes through on a daily basis. I mean, this is relatable to anybody. We get to understand this feeling of loneliness through Fern, and it almost makes you feel like maybe you've met someone like this before. She's given an opportunity to go to a place where other nomads get together and conjugate. And at first she's kind of hesitant because that's kind of her character. She's a little stubborn, but she ultimately decides to go. And when she gets there, we get to introduce to the society of nomads. And you get to hear about what brought them there. You know, there's people that have died in their lives, or maybe they've lost their homes. There are just all different types of people here who ultimately have suffered and are content to choose this life. It's a gathering to help each other out, help them figure out how to live in your home, how to fix a tire, and how to use the bathroom in your own car. I really like this movie. It really depicts things that I've even gone through, for sure, where there are moments where I'm in a family gathering and parties and all that stuff, and one moment it's filled with levity and the next moment there's nothing. You know, this feeling of being alone can be dangerous, but it can also be a good thing, like I've said in other videos. I like to be alone so I can figure out my own thoughts and have peace. And this movie really depicts that, like what it means to live in moments. And in the movie, you know, Fern really gets an opportunity to live with her sister and other generous people. However, she doesn't choose to live with them. On the outside, if you don't understand what she's going through, you'd be like, what are you doing? You need shelter. You need a place to live. You need a place that's more secure than your van. But the reason she travels is because she feels that if she were to live in a home, she'd be confined to a cage. Because when she's traveling, she's able to meet new people and have a connection with people that she wouldn't otherwise have with anybody else. And I think that's quite interesting, because what she's looking for is a connection, something to fill the void of her husband, of her life that used to be. This really speaks to her character because she's very spontaneous. She just will work at one job, travel to some other states, work at that job, and it's partly, you know, to keep herself afloat, but also to try to find connections with people that are exactly like her. This movie is all about, how do you find yourself? How do you find yourself after a tragedy? How do you build the pieces that you once were? There's people that have committed suicide when they've lost everything, or ultimately, you know, turn to drugs and then turn to something way worse. Finding the pieces that make you yourself is, I think, what the movie is trying to show us. That we all sometimes might feel lonely and we just don't know how to move on. Finding the answers to move forward all comes from your past. It really shows you the journey of someone just trying to pick up the pieces. This movie was way different from what I was expecting it to be. I mean, I didn't see any trailers or anything like that, but I'm really glad I saw it. If I were to give this movie a rating, I'd say it's a 7 out of 10. It's great. It has a great lead actress, and it already got nominated for a Golden Globe, so it definitely is great. A movie recommendation I would give out would be Into the Wild. Very similar premise of just trying to find yourself. And I'm actually going to do some song recommendations that kind of will make you feel what this movie's about without having to see the movie. At least that's my intention. I would say Cage the Elephant, Telescope, and Young the Giant, Islands. I will put links in the description so that you can listen to what I'm talking about. And as always, thank you for watching. I would like some comments on these videos as well, if you could. That would be much appreciated. I'd like to know if there's something I'm lacking, something I'm doing right or wrong. Feedback is always appreciated. So if you could leave a comment below of what you thought about the movie or what you thought about my video, would be very helpful for me in the future. And as always, thank you for watching. Have a good night.